Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so have you ever looked at a sloth and just assumed it was lazy? It's incredibly common to look at these animals barely moving in the trees and project our own fast-paced human expectations right onto them. But today, I want to completely shatter that stereotype. What we're actually looking at isn't laziness at all. It's an absolute biological masterpiece of efficiency.
So I want to pose this question directly to you as we get started. Are they just lazy, or are they actually evolutionary geniuses? Throughout this explainer, we're going to totally reframe their extreme slowness. We'll dig into the hard data and biological facts to see how being the slowest mammal on Earth is in reality a highly calculated and ridiculously successful survival strategy. And spoiler alert, it's a strategy that's worked for over 65 million years.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to look at the evolution of sloth, peek inside the sloth's unique biology, check out their bizarre daily life, trace their incredible journey from prehistoric giants to modern survivors, and finally wrap up with a rapid-fire FAQ of sloth facts. Let's go.
Section 1. The evolution of slow, surviving by doing less. Usually, in the animal kingdom, we're used to seeing evolution favor the absolute fastest or the strongest, right? Well, sloths took a totally different path. Ultimate efficiency. But before we get into the heavy science, we kind of need to clear up a taxonomic practical joke. We divide these animals into two-toed and three-toed sloths. But here's the secret. All sloths actually have 3 toes on their back limbs. The whole naming system only refers to their front fingers, so whenever you hear two-toed sloth, just remember it's really only half true. 40. That is the magic number when it comes to sloth speed. 40 yards is the average distance a sloth travels in an entire day through the rainforest canopy. And here's the other 40. Their metabolism is only 40 to 45% of what you'd expect for a mammal their size. They move slowly because they literally have to. They simply do not have the metabolic engine to waste even a single ounce of energy.
Moving on to Section 2, inside the sloth's biology, the engine of slow.
To really wrap our heads around why they move at a snail's pace, we have to look at their diet, which dictates almost everything they do. First, they eat mostly leaves, which are incredibly low in calories and notoriously hard to digest. Second, they ferment these leaves in a massive, bacteria-rich, 4-chambered stomach, kind of similar to a cow. And third, they just wait. Digestion can take days, sometimes even weeks. I want you to imagine carrying around a digesting meal that makes up 30% of your entire body weight. That's the everyday reality for a sloth, and it's exactly why they can't afford to rush.
But you know, it isn't just their insides that are fascinating. A sloth's exterior is practically a mobile ecosystem all on its own. Because they spend their lives hanging upside down, their hair actually grows backwards to help shed tropical rainwater. And this unique fur traps moisture and hosts green algae, which provides amazing camouflage and even some extra nutrients. It also gives a home to fungi, microbes, and these really specialized sloth moths that literally exist nowhere else on Earth.
And this brilliantly illustrates the point. You've got a beautiful, stylized anime representation of their mossy coats, and you compare that to the hyper-realistic, majestic camouflage they actually use out in the wild. That greenish tint from the algae, it acts as the ultimate disguise. Out in the dense rainforest, simply blending in is for sure their absolute best defense mechanism against predators.
All right, Section 3, a bizarre daily life, upside down and underwater.
Now, you might think spending all day hanging in the trees means they're strictly land dwellers. But despite being incredibly awkward on the ground, literally dragging themselves through the dirt, sloths are actually highly capable swimmers. They use this sort of slow-motion doggy paddle to navigate rivers, and sometimes they'll just drop directly from the tree canopy straight into the water below to cross a river or find a new territory.
And there's a really striking strategic contrast here. A sloth can actually move 3 times faster in the water than they do on land. It's an unbelievable adaptation. Plus, on top of that aquatic speed, because of that slow metabolism we talked about, they can hold their breath underwater for an astonishing 40 minutes. No way, right?
Another kind of bizarre aspect of their daily routine is how they regulate heat. Most mammals, us included, keep a really strict internal body temperature. But sloths? They're heterothermic. This means they have imperfect control over their body heat, so it actually fluctuates with the environment, sometimes dropping as low as 68 degrees Fahrenheit. To save even more energy, they'll often just sun themselves in the canopy in the mornings, acting way more like cold-blooded reptiles than your typical mammals.
Section 4. From Giants to Survivors, the 65 million year journey.
It is so easy to look at a modern sloth and wonder how on earth such a seemingly defenseless creature survived this long. But just think about the sheer scale of their history. We're talking origins around 65.5 million years ago, rubbing shoulders with the last of the dinosaurs. But what's really wild is thinking about what was happening around 10,000 years ago. During that era, sloths weren't just small tree dwellers. Some of them, like the Megatherium, were giant ground sloths the size of modern elephants. Today, those giants are extinct, leaving us with the highly specialized, 9-pound, energy-efficient survivors we know today.
So in their modern ecosystem, sloths play a super vital role in nutrient cycling, but they also face some pretty serious threats. Their natural predators are powerhouses like harpy eagles and jaguars. Now, these predators rely heavily on spotting motion to hunt, which perfectly explains why the sloth's absolute best defense is just staying incredibly still. Sadly, though, their greatest modern threat isn't natural predators at all. It's habitat loss, deforestation, and the fragmentation of the rainforests they call home.
If we look impartially at the current conservation status across the 6 living species, it's definitely a mixed picture. 4 of the species are doing relatively well and are classified as least concern. However, the maned 3-toed sloth is considered vulnerable, and the tiny pygmy 3-toed sloth, which is isolated on a single island off the coast of Panama, is critically endangered.
Which brings us to Section 5, Sloth Facts and FAQ, Rapid Fire Knowledge.
I am so excited for this part of the explainer. We're going to answer some of the most common and frankly bizarre questions about these animals. First up, why is going to the bathroom so dangerous? Well, surprisingly, many sloths climb all the way down to the forest floor roughly once a week just to poop. It is high-stakes drama. Down on the ground, they are virtually defenseless against predators. Scientists are actually still studying this incredibly risky ritual, but many believe it's directly linked to the life cycle of those specialized moths that live in their fur, basically providing a safe place for the moths to lay their eggs.
Next question. Are sloths actually strong? The answer is a resounding yes. Think about it. What does it take to hang upside down from a branch for your entire life? To make this possible without suffocating, their internal organs are actually anchored directly to their ribcage. This means gravity doesn't cause their heavy, full stomachs to crush their lungs while they hang there. Honestly, their grip strength is absolutely incredible.
FAQ number 3. How far can a sloth turn its head? Well, since they can't exactly dart away from danger, they've evolved a built-in surveillance system. 3-toed sloths actually have extra vertebrae in their neck, allowing them to rotate their heads an astounding 270 degrees. It basically acts as a slow-motion radar, letting them scan the entire forest canopy for eagles or jaguars without having to move their bodies at all.
And our final FAQ. Which sloth is more aggressive? While they might look like friendly, living stuffed animals, you really shouldn't mess with them, especially the 2-toed sloth. 2-toed sloths are generally larger and much more aggressive than their 3-toed cousins. Plus, they have a more diverse, omnivorous diet. They are armed with sharp teeth and claws that can be 3 to 4 inches long, and believe me, they will absolutely defend themselves if threatened.
So what does this all mean? The absolutely crucial point here is that sloths are anything but lazy. In a fast-paced modern world that is utterly obsessed with speed and hustle, the sloth is this beautiful reminder that sometimes slowing down is the ultimate key to survival. They've spent 65 million years mastering extreme biological efficiency, and perhaps mastering the art of doing nothing might just be evolution's greatest trick of all. What do you think? Could we maybe learn a thing or two from the slowest masterpiece on Earth?